Remember when Will on The Fresh Prince went to... Hold up. Who the f*** is that?
Seems like just yesterday when I was wiping the tears from his eyes.
Let's go back.
Tamagotchi,
Of Y2K.
My series on TV characters inspired this video because I wasn't sure which was worse. A character just vanishing from a show without explanation, or an actor coming in to play the same character that we've come to love and know. The family usually just carry on as if they can't see this complete stranger living in their home now. Are they an alien that brainwashed the family? These are the things I like to think about at night. Before getting into the 90s examples of this, I wanted to go back a bit further to find out the earliest case of this happening, and for that we need to go all the way back to 1952. The Lone Ranger hit television screens nationwide in 1949, starring Clayton Moore in the titular role. However, when season 3 came around in 1952, he was replaced by actor John Hart, only to return again for seasons 4 and 5. Interestingly enough, John Hart played two characters in the first season of The Lone Ranger as a guard in episode 34 and Duke in episode 46. The story as to why Clayton Moore was replaced for one season is a bit vague even today. The actor himself in his autobiography even points out he was never technically fired, all he knew was they had started filming without him. It seems producer George W. Trendle didn't like Moore and figured they could get someone better for the lead role. And just like my other series of videos, we gotta connect this to Happy Days somehow, am I right? Well, John Hart, who played the Lone Ranger for one season, appears in season 9 episode of Happy Days as, you guessed it, the Lone Ranger. Oh, and by the way, I don't want the comments coming at me saying, actually, The Adventures of Superman also came out in 1952 and they replaced Noelle Neal with Phyllis Coates as Lois Lane. That didn't happen until 1953, so come at me. If you do find an instance of this before 1952, I'll concede and bake you a cake that says you're right on it, and I stand by my word. Now that I've incited a childish fight as if I'm asking you to meet me behind the flagpole after school, let's get into one of the most famous examples of a character being replaced by a different actor, or in this case, actress, with Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a huge hit for NBC back in the 90s, as Will Smith's career seemed to have a jetpack strapped onto it, shooting him into superstardom. On the show, he moves to the titular Bel-Air, where he stays with his Uncle Phil, in my opinion the best TV dad of all time, and his Aunt Vivian. Fans of the show came to love the entire cast, not just Will. Everyone seemed to be perfectly cast for their role. However, when season 4 came around, Aunt Viv looked a bit different.
There's something different about you.
This was one of the few shows that even addressed the recasting of a character, as Daphne Maxwell Reid stepped in to replace Janet Hubert. Being a kid watching this, I had no idea the behind-the-scenes reasons why there was a different Aunt Viv, but I did recognize she wasn't as good as the original. I'm not trying to point fingers at Reid, because it seems like the writers of the show just sort of wrote her into the background from there on out. But now when I think back at The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I always remember Janet in that role. The original Aunt Viv wasn't a two-dimensional character. She was entertaining, lively, and never faded into the background. Plus, she was more a part of the show's plot. Up until now, I had only known there seemed to be a rift between Janet and Will Smith. But while making this video, I was able to dig deeper and find out what really happened. Thanks to numerous interviews and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion clearing everything up in 2020. In the reunion, Janet and Will reunite and bury the hatchet as everything that happened comes out. She explains that during the end of season 3 she was pregnant and in an abusive relationship. She wasn't having fun anymore and her on-set demeanor drastically changed. Then NBC came to her with a contract she wasn't comfortable with for season 4, an offer that wouldn't allow her to work anywhere else for the duration of her new contract. Will, being only 21 at the time, was the star of the show, but not mature enough or sensitive enough towards his co-stars. Well, that's a nice way to put it, and he wasn't happy that Janet was bringing her problems to work, despite not knowing what those problems were.
I can see where I made the set very difficult for Janet.
Producers decided to recast the role and the feud went public, and the rest is history, unfortunately. In the reunion special, they do apologize to each other. That was a lot for the first entry on this list. Let's lighten things up with, let me see here, Lori on That 70s Show. Oh no.
In your dreams, you idiot.
The reason I say oh no is because I already know how this story ends, but let's get into it. Lisa Robin Kelly played Lori, Eric's bitchy and, how do I put this nicely, promiscuous older sister. During season 3 of the series, Lori went off to beauty school and we wouldn't see her again for a while. In reality, Kelly was dealing with her own demons after the loss of a child, turning to drugs and alcohol. In season 5, Kelly returned as Lori, seemingly having gotten her life back on track. In the season finale of that season, she was involved in a major plot point, where she marries Fez in order for him to stay in the country. Unfortunately, she fell back into old habits and was replaced by Christina Moore in the season 6 premiere. This seemed like a case in which Lori could have just gone missing again, but with her being involved in such a cliffhanger finale, the writers had no choice but to replace her. Christina Moore wasn't quite the Lori we came to know and love. She was similar to Aunt Viv in that she was just there for 6 episodes before being written out of the show. Still a better replacement than Randy though. F you, Randy. Lisa Robin Kelly never got her life back on track. Battling through DUIs, domestic violence charges that were all brought public by the tabloids, and in 2013 she passed away from an accidental overdose at 43 years old. Jeez, I thought I was writing a fun little list about the 90s, but here we are. Let's have a bit of a palate cleanser with one that doesn't involve tragedy before we continue on. Friends! Ever heard of it? On the show, Ross, the tallest friend, has a gay, pregnant ex-wife named Carol. In the second episode of the series, we are first introduced to her and Anita Barone's take on the character. The next time we see Carol a few episodes later, she has drastically changed as actress Jane Sibbett took over the role. Now, no offense to Anita Barone, but this is the first case in which a recasting felt like an upgrade. Jane Sibbett had much more chemistry with David Schwimmer, and only appearing in a handful of episodes throughout the series, she left an everlasting mark with fans. The reason behind the switch up is a lot of rumors, however the one that popped up in dozens of articles is that Anita Barone allegedly asked for a bigger role in the series, and also didn't think Friends was going to be the hit it was, so she walked away to pursue other roles. You can look back now and think, wow, what a terrible decision, but there are so many television shows out there that just come and go. There would have been no way of knowing at the time how big of a cultural impact Friends would have had. Next up, we're diving into the TGIF section of this video, starting with Family Matters. At one point, Family Matters may have become the Urkel show, but before that it started out as a spin-off of Perfect Strangers. On the show, Jo Mary Payton played Harriet, an elevator operator who quickly became a fan favorite. In Family Matters, we got to see her side of life, but that didn't stop her from being replaced. At the end of season 8, the show moved from ABC to CBS, and with that, there was an option in Payton's contract. She needed to appear in a certain number of episodes, and then she had the option to leave, which she waived for season 9. She said the show felt like it was running out of steam and it had reached its jumping the shark moment, so she wanted to do something else, and, well, she wasn't wrong. Judy Elder came in as a replacement, which fans of the show didn't like. It makes you wonder why the writers didn't just write her out of the show. Replacing her just seemed like the lazy option at that point in the series run.
How are you, Harriet?
Alright, here we go again. We couldn't make one of these lists without the plot hole juggernaut that was Boy Meets World. Again, I can't stress this enough, love the show, one of my favorite shows of the 90s, but damn do I wish I could sit in and listen to that writer's room. On both my previous videos, comments flooded in about Morgan on Boy Meets World, Corey's little sister on the show. I never included her in the missing character talk. This feels sort of like a Mandela effect situation because looking through all the episodes, Morgan appears in every single season, all the way to the final episode, so she never really disappears. Off screen many episodes, sure, but she was always there. However, in season 3 we got a new face of Morgan in the form of actress Lindsay Ridgway. The original Morgan was played by Lily Nixay, and for many years there was a mystery surrounding why she was replaced. But thanks to Pod Meets World, the Boy Meets World podcast hosted by Danielle Fishel, Ryder Strong, and Will Friedle, we got some answers. But first, a quick side note before getting into that. Danielle and Will were recently at a WWE event, and they only showed Danielle's name on the big screen. Why you gotta do that to my boy Will like that? Hashtag justice for Friedel. Back to the video. As we've heard many times before, being a child actor can be tough. Lily Nixay decided to step away from the role because she didn't want to be there. Danielle says that it's a big responsibility working on a popular show and it isn't as fun as many people may think. And kudos to her parents for letting her walk away. Luckily for fans of the show, the Boy Meets World metaverse busted wide open when both Lily and Lindsay appeared on Girl Meets World both as Aunt Morgan. No word yet if they'll be joining the Avengers Initiative.
Is there gonna be another me?
On to arguably the most popular show of the 90s with Seinfeld. For this one, I have a dad doubleheader for you. Like I always say, double the dads, double the fun. Don't take that out of context. Let's start with Jerry's dad on the show, Morty. You remember Morty, mostly played by Barney Martin. But in the second episode of the series, Jerry's dad is played by Phil Burns. The reason behind this change is that Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld wanted to go a different way with the character. They said Burns played the character too laid back, and they wanted a harsher father for Jerry, which Martin brought to the role. It's hard to imagine Phil Burns arguing with Jack Klompus over a pen, so it seems like this was the right choice. Speaking of the right choice, arguably the greatest guest character on Seinfeld is Frank Costanza, George's erratic father played by Jerry Stiller. I don't know if a guest character has had more of an impact on pop culture than Stiller's Frank. He created his own damn holiday with Festivus and had people shouting, "Serenity now!" But did you know? I feel like one of those lame TV show hosts. But did you know? The role was originally played by John Randolph in season 4. Once again, he was replaced because Larry and Jerry wanted to go different ways with the character. I just realized reading Larry and Jerry sounds like an off-brand Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Anyway, they said Randolph played the role subtly. Well, you can throw subtlety out the window with Jerry Stiller's take on the character.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
Okay, Sweet Valley High is going to be a bit messy for 2 reasons. 1, I'd never seen or even heard of the show, and 2, while doing the research, I just kept coming across replacement after replacement without solid answers as to why they were replaced. The show was based off the book series of the same name and follows twins the Wakefield sisters and their friends in high school. So join me as I try to piece together Sweet Valley High's revolving door of actors. For this, I'm gonna just look at 2 characters, and they're Todd and Lila. If you were a fan of the show, yes, Bruce was also replaced and eventually vanished from the show, but we don't have time to go down that rabbit hole. For the first 2 seasons of the show, Ryan Biddle played Todd, an arrogant jock on the school's basketball team, and was romantically involved with Elizabeth. How am I doing so far? Then there was Lila, played by Bridget Flannery. She was the rich girl and frenemy of Jessica. Like, they totally had a love-hate relationship. Biddle and Flannery behind the scenes were a real-life couple. They were both replaced after season 2 because of on-set issues. There aren't any solid answers, just speculation that maybe they were arguing all the time, or maybe they were like this couple and just wouldn't come to set.
Is this allowed? What the fuck? Is that allowed?
Stop.
Again, just speculation. Jeremy Garrett and Shirley Elliott stepped into the roles of Todd and Lila respectively, with Garrett bringing the biggest changes to his character, going from the arrogant jock to the goofball comic relief. And now it's time to hop across the pond for the British series, Keeping Up Appearances. To any British people watching this, I'm very sorry. This show is about a snobbish housewife. Oh god, I know I'm gonna get burned in the comments for this. Hyacinth? Hyacinth? We're gonna go with Hyacinth. Let's go with that. In the series, her family is working class, but she tries to climb the social ladder. Her sister Rose is the opposite of her. She's uncaring, promiscuous, and always wearing something revealing. The role was originally played by Shirley Stelfox, but after season 1 she had to drop out because of a scheduling conflict between Keeping Up Appearances and her other show, Making Out. Mary Miller stepped into the married man chasing Rose in season 2, and the rest is history. Through all my research, I haven't found any fans upset about the casting swap, so it seems most people were fine with it.
He isn't interested in your romantic affairs, Rose.
On the contrary, it's fascinating.
The final show I'm going to talk about is Roseanne, and a character who flip-flopped from one actress to another a few times. That's right, we're going to talk about Becky. At the end of season 5, Roseanne's eldest daughter Becky eloped with her boyfriend and moved away. In reality, actress Lacey Goranson left to study at Vassar College, and in came everyone's future favorite neurotic and quirky doctor, Elliot Reed. I mean, Sarah Chalk. Don't think I didn't forget what you did to Ted. However, Lacey returned for season 8, but once again scheduling conflicts with school caused her to leave, and in came Chalk again for season 9. But hold up, in Roseanne's reboot, Lacey returns as Becky, and Chalk also returns, but this time as Andrea, who chooses Becky to be her surrogate. I'm getting whiplash watching these Beckys, like the match at the end of Challengers. Still not the biggest plot hole of the series, as, spoiler alert, Dan is dead in the finale of the original series, but in the reboot, he's back. The magic of television, baby. And there you have it, all the character replacements of the 90s I could find. In conclusion, recasting a long-running character rarely works. But if you hit on it early enough like Seinfeld and Friends, there's a better chance at success. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and join our Discord community. Come chat about everything nostalgia and collaborate in future videos. I look forward to seeing other channels' AI takes on this topic in 2 weeks' time. And remember, every like this video gets goes towards researching the Becky Connor metaverse. Bye everyone.
Serenity now! Serenity now!